Art objects across centuries and cultures share a basic visual language. Even though the possibilities are infinite, artists use common elements and principles to structure their work and create meaning. In this video, we'll explore the vocabulary of art, the different dimensions of art forms, the elements and principles of design, and why visual design is such a powerful tool. To start, let's establish the basic vocabulary that artists and historians use. Dimension is the first distinction. Two-dimensional art includes drawing, painting, and printmaking. Three-dimensional art includes sculpture and installations. Four-dimensional or time-based art includes video and performance. Materials and processes also define art. Artists may use charcoal, oil paint, stone, clay, or digital tools to bring ideas into reality. And design elements are the 6 basic building blocks of visual art: line, shape, mass or volume, perspective, texture, and color. Each carries its own expressive power. Next, let's look at art that exists on flat surfaces. Drawing uses observation and mark-making, often in monochromatic media like graphite charcoal or metal point. Painting applies colored liquids to surfaces, with different types distinguished by their binding agents, such as oil acrylic or watercolor. So printmaking basically transfers pigment from a prepared surface, which is called a matrix, to another surface. The main types include relief, intaglio, planographic, and stencil. Moving from the flat surface into space, sculpture adds a third dimension. Sculpture can be made by carving, which removes material, modeling, which builds up softer materials like clay, casting, which replaces one material with another, or assembly, which attaches objects together. Advanced forms include installation art, which transforms spaces into immersive environments, kinetic art, which incorporates movement, and site-specific art, which is created for a particular location. Some art adds a fourth dimension, time. Video art projects moving images. Projection mapping reshapes how we see surfaces by aligning video with three-dimensional objects. Performance art uses the body and action as the medium, often documented through photography. New technologies continue to expand time-based art into digital media, computer animation, virtual reality, robotics, and three-dimensional printing. It's fascinating how these advancements are reshaping the landscape of art. With the forms of art in mind, let's turn to the elements, the core building blocks of visual language. These elements are the foundation upon which all art is built, and they are essential for understanding how art communicates. Line is an infinite series of points in a direction. Lines can be gestural, contour, implied, or even psychic, where our eyes connect points that aren't physically joined. Shape and mass or volume define space. Shapes are two-dimensional, either geometric or organic. Mass and volume add a third dimension, creating closed or open forms. These concepts are fundamental, really, to how we perceive and interpret art. So perspective creates the illusion of space on a flat surface, whether that's through linear vanishing points, atmospheric haze, or just using scale and overlap. Texture, on the other hand, really engages our sense of touch. It can be actual, like in sculpture, or implied, as you see in a painted surface. Color is, honestly, often the most striking element. It includes hue, saturation, brightness, and temperature, like, warm versus cool. Because color is so powerful, artists have developed entire systems to work with it. Subtractive color is based on pigments, like CMYK. Additive color is based on projected light, like RGB. So, human color perception is a fascinating process that depends on rods and cones in our eyes. These are sensitive to red, green, and blue light, and they work together to help us see the vibrant world around us. Artists, on the other hand, have a whole palette of color schemes to play with. They might use a monochromatic scheme, which involves variations of a single hue. Or they could go for a complementary scheme, using colors that are opposites on the color wheel. And then there's the analogous scheme, which involves colors that are neighbors on the wheel. It's all about creating harmony and contrast in their work. You know, colors aren't always what they seem. There's this interesting shift between what's called local color, which is basically the natural color of an object, and observed color, which can change depending on different lighting conditions. It's like magic, really, how the same object can look so different under various lights. So if we think of the elements of art as the vocabulary, then, well, the principles are like the grammar. They guide how we put everything together to create a cohesive and expressive piece of art. It's all about finding that balance and structure to convey meaning effectively. So artists often talk about how they organize different elements into their compositions. It's really about making choices, deciding what goes where, and how each part relates to the whole. This process helps create balance, unity, and of course, visual interest in the artwork. Unity and variety are, about finding that balance between sameness and difference. Scale and proportion refer to the relationships of size within an artwork. Balance is the distribution of visual weight, which can be either symmetrical or asymmetrical. Emphasis and movement guide the viewer's eye with directional forces like color or line. Rhythm and repetition involve repeating elements to create structure, or sometimes breaking patterns to create a bit of surprise. When we put the elements and principles together, we really start to see the true power of visual design. Understanding design helps us identify art forms, recognize materials and processes, and appreciate how intentional choices shape meaning. It gives artists the ability to communicate across time and culture, expanding our ways of seeing. As we reach the end of our exploration, remember, art isn't just something to observe. It's a living language, always growing, shaped by every artist and viewer who engages with it. Now, equipped with a deeper understanding of visual language, you have the tools to interpret, appreciate, and even create art that speaks across boundaries. Whether you're sketching your first lines, visiting a museum, or simply noticing the design in everyday life, your perspective matters. Every glance, every reaction, every question adds to the ongoing conversation that art inspires worldwide. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and let art continue to open new ways of seeing the world, both past and present, and perhaps your own future creations.